this is Alan Richards, and I have some frequently asked questions about Kindle books for you. First one is, how much shorter is a Kindle book than a regular book? Well, there's no really simple answer to this, but conventional books, I just pulled one off the shelf, and they're anything from about 50,000 words to 80,000 words. The one I pulled off the shelf was about 76,000. That wasn't hugely thick. But a Kindle book, whereas it can be that size, it doesn't have to be. A Kindle book can be as short as 10 to 12,000 words, and many, in fact, are shorter, and they're a lot shorter. The Kindle Guidelines doesn't have a minimum length for a book, so I've seen Kindle books that are 5 or 6 pages long, and that's it. The point is, can you cover the ground that's needed in a given number of words? And if you can cover that in 10,000 or 12,000 words, then that's fine. It doesn't need to be any longer. Second question I've got is, how much does it cost to publish on Kindle? Well, the publishing on Kindle is actually free. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't pay anything at all to get your book uploaded and listed on Kindle. So it's completely free of charge, assuming, of course, you do it yourself. And the other side of that coin is, well, what percentage do I pay to Kindle to actually sell the book for me? And really that depends on what selling price you set. Now, if you set a price of between $2.99 and $9.99, then you get 70% royalties. So 70% goes to you, 30% goes to Amazon. If you price it below $2.99 or above $9.99, then you get 35% of the price yourself, and Amazon takes the rest. Now, you may be thinking, well, you know, Amazon's getting either 65% or 30%. That's quite a lot. Your royalty percentage is massive in comparison to the 8 to 12% typical for traditional publishing royalties. So if you're lucky, you will get 8 to 12% for your traditionally published books, but with Amazon, you can get 70%. Next question is, do I need my own ISBN? And the answer is, if you're just publishing on Kindle, no, Amazon will provide you with an ASIN. It's a bit like an ISBN for a digital book, completely free of charge. So they'll allocate that to you. You don't have to go out there and buy an ISBN. How do I make money with Kindle books? Well, first of all, of course, you have to write the book and you have to publish it on Kindle. But the real keys of making money on Kindle are, number one, publishing a book in a category where there's already a high demand. So you actually want a hot niche to publish your book in. And you want to create a quality book, one that covers the content. It must have a nice external appearance, nicely formatted inside, must have a nice cover. And the other key is having several books available on Amazon. Now, if you're not a published author, of course, you need to start with one, but what you need to be able to do is have several books available on Kindle. Because when people buy or even search for your books, or even in your category, Amazon will show, if you've got other books published in your name, will show your other books as well. This incidentally helped John Locke become a millionaire from his Kindle sales of his 7 books in less than a year. So the important thing is, when you've got several books published on Kindle, Amazon will say, well, if you bought this book, you might like these other books from this author. And people just go click, 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 buy. So in that way, Amazon will promote your books for you. There's a technical one here. What's the best Kindle book creating software? Well, there are a few, and there are pros and cons to each one of them. Let's just go through a few. So there is Sigil, Sigil and Calibre, there is Scrivener, there's InDesign, there's Word. Let's just go through what I know about these. Sigil is a free tool, so that's a pro. That's SIGIL. It's free to use. It's easy to use. Its one disadvantage is it doesn't output Kindle ready format. So the output it does output, you have to convert in order to upload it to Kindle. So you need a tool called Calibre, which is also free, to do that conversion. Now, unfortunately, this makes it a two-step process. So if you have any changes to make, you've got to go back to Sigil, output, reformat it in Calibre. So, for cash-strapped people, that's a possibility. Second up is Scrivener. Scrivener is not very much, about $40 one-off. So it's an affordable tool if you're considering publishing on Kindle, but also considering different ebook formats, because it'll output Kindle-ready formats for uploading, and it'll also output different formats for other ebook formats. So again, that's very useful. It takes a bit of getting used to Scrivener. I don't find it terribly intuitive. Taking a step up in price, you've got InDesign. Now, if you use InDesign or you've got access to InDesign, this gives you huge flexibility. It's got an Amazon plugin and produces Kindle-ready format. So that's a very nice, very flexible tool. The only downside is really its price and its complexity. So that leaves us with the one most people use, and that's Microsoft Word. Now, the pros of using Microsoft Word are, when it's used properly, it's possibly the cleanest way to create a Kindle book. The downsides of it are, if you can't use Word properly, you can't use headings properly to generate a table of contents, and you use tabs to lay things out, you'll make a real mess of it, and it'll be awful. But in principle, Word is a good tool to use to create your Kindle book. If you don't have the money to get Word, then Google Drive will produce Word format documents. So just go to Google Drive, go to the word processor there, and that will save in a doc or docx format. So you can use that. And again, as long as you don't have any tables or tabs or anything, then you can upload that to Kindle as well. Question, can you put hyperlinks in Kindle books? So can you put hyperlinks to your website, to other people's websites, etc.? Yes, you can. You can either put them in the body of the book or at the end. I would say just test them all after you've inserted them to make sure they all work. But yes, absolutely you can. How do you format a book for Kindle? Right, I could spend a whole day talking about this, but let's just do the quick version here. So how do you format a book for Kindle? Use Microsoft Word is my number one recommendation. Avoid the use of all of these tabs, any tabs at all, any tables at all, apart from the table of contents, any extra spaces, spaces to indent, I see frequently, you don't want to do that. Extra page returns, all of those will screw up your format. And make sure that your table of content is generated from H1 header tags. Now, if you don't know what that means, get somebody else to format your Kindle book for you. You can find people on Fiverr, it's not very expensive. So use Word, type it all out, and then if you're not absolutely used to Word, then get somebody to reformat it, lay it out properly for Kindle. You can get somebody on Fiverr. Can you publish on Kindle and sell elsewhere? The answer to that is yes, absolutely you can. Amazon does not force exclusivity on you unless you're registered with KDP Select. So you can sell, for example, on Kindle, and you can sell the same ebook in let's say PDF format on your website. You can absolutely do that. Now, I mentioned the exception was if you're in KDP Select. So I ought to tell you what KDP Select is. KDP Select is Amazon's lending library, where Amazon pays you for readers to borrow your book for free. So that sounds slightly unbelievable, so let's say that again. So KDP Select is Amazon's lending library, where Amazon will pay you when an Amazon reader borrows your book when it's in KDP Select for free. So the reader borrows it for free, but Amazon recognizes that it's going to pay you anyway for that happening. So that's called KDP Select. Now, if you enroll your book, I think the minimum is 3 months. So 90 days or something. When you enroll your book for KDP Select, you have to sign a disclaimer saying you will not, for the period of that 90 days, sell your book anywhere else in electronic format. You can sell a paper copy, you can sell paperback, you can sell hardback. You can't sell an electronic version, PDF or anything like that. So if you've got that on your website, then you need to disable that. Otherwise, Amazon will come down on you like a ton of bricks. So do I recommend KDP Select? Yes, absolutely. As long as you don't sell your book elsewhere, yes, absolutely. So KDP Select is a nice source of income. What are the biggest mistakes that Kindle authors make? Well, I've published a number of Kindle books, both for myself and for clients over the years, and I see the same problems coming up again and again and again. One of the biggest ones is one people don't really think about, and it's they don't research whether there's actually a market for their book before publishing it. So they write it, they publish it, they get a cover, they put it on Kindle, and it doesn't sell. And it doesn't sell because there isn't a market. So the best thing you can do is to research whether there is a hot market. There are requirements for your book. So there are similar books that are on the market that are being sold. So that's mistake number one, and I see that time and time again. Mistake number two has got to be formatting problems, and I hinted about that before. Using tables, using tabs, using extra returns, they really screw up Kindle's formatting, and the result is your book will look terrible on Kindle or PCs or Macs or iPhones or anything else they display them on. Number three is, and there's no real reason for this now, having a terrible cover. So a cover that doesn't really represent your book because it looks amateurish. Perhaps you've done it yourself. Perhaps you've engaged somebody who hasn't got the ability to produce a professional cover. So you must have a professional cover. I know it's only an e-cover on Kindle, but you must have a professional cover. Otherwise, it really devalues the book. Because after all, when people go to Kindle, the only things they've got to go on are your name, your book title, your cover, and the description of your book. And possibly, if it's been on sale for a while, the reviews. But that's about it. So your cover is a huge part of that. So make sure you get a good one. Pay for a good professional cover. The fourth one is one I see again, over and over again. It doesn't stop people buying your book, but if you've got poor grammar and it's not spell checked, then you'll get lots of refund requests from Amazon, and Amazon will not be very happy with you. So if you're not red hot on grammar and spell checking, and to be honest, spell checking is easy these days with Word or whatever you're using. So there's no real excuse for that. So the four biggest mistakes I see: not researching your book in the first place to find out if there's a market, formatting problems within the book, getting a terrible cover that doesn't represent your book, and having poor grammar and the interior of your book not being spell checked. I see this question a lot. What should I price my book at? Well, you need to do a bit of research and you need to, I would say, test prices, because you can actually move your price up and down once it's been published. So it's not set in stone. You can move it up or down. Now, bear in mind that between $2.99 and $9.99, that's where you get the most commission. You get 70% commission. So you probably want between $2.99 and $9.99. $2.99 is actually the most common price point. Obviously, research your market, find out what your specific market is. But, that's $2.99 is the most common price point. Research I saw recently said that $3.99 has almost as many sales as $2.99. So I would say research it, but bear those things in mind. What else we got? What do I need to publish on Kindle? Right, well, you need your content correctly formatted and spell checked in a Word document with a cover image, with a description. Now, the description that Amazon describes this thing as a description, it's basically what, if you buy a physical book and you flip the book over, it's what would be on the back cover. And you've got about 4,000 characters to play with, which is about, it's nearly a page, isn't it? It's about 2/3 of a page or so of text. So that should tell people what they're getting from the book. If it's a non-fiction book, what they get out of it, why they should read it. It's your marketing messages, really, about your book. So you need your content, you need it correctly formatted and spell checked, your cover image, your description, 2 categories that you're going to select, and your selling price. And then the other questions that you get asked are, do you want to sell it in other territories, etc., etc. But those are the main things. How do I ensure my book will sell well? Well, have a good cover image, get good reviews once it's published, do your research, have a hot niche, which is what I said before, set up your Author Central page on Amazon, because that tells the reader about you, tells you what books you have. So once you've got more than one book, you've got all your books listed there. It's very good to have an Author Central page because people can see the books, click on them, and buy your other books that they haven't got. So Author Central page. You can also create a list or lists on what Amazon calls Listmania, which is a list of products. And you can put all of your books in there and related books if you like. And those are quite heavily searched. And they can be a good and completely free way of promoting your book. How do I create the content for my book? Well, I've said your Kindle book only needs to be 10 to 12,000 words. You could actually write it. It doesn't take too long to write a book of that length. You could dictate it and transcribe it and then edit that. You could run a webinar, for example, and record that and get it transcribed. You could do the same thing for Facebook Live. You could do the same for Zoom.us. So whichever way you do it, create the content, edit it, format it, and then upload it to Amazon. You've mentioned getting a good cover graphics. You've mentioned getting good cover graphics for your book. Isn't this expensive? Well, yes, it used to be. It used to be about $200 for a decent book cover. But now if you go to Fiverr, you get some of them for $5. Increasingly, the prices are creeping up a little bit on Fiverr. So, if you want it within the next few days, you're probably looking at paying $20 or even $30. But even so, that's not very much. Considering that book cover is representing you and your book on Amazon. So just go to Fiverr. Why should I publish on Kindle in the first place? Well, there are a huge number of Kindles in the world. One estimate puts that at over 26 million. Plus, it's not just Kindle. There are more Kindle readers for PC, Mac, iPhone, iPad, iPod, goodness only knows what. So there's virtually anybody who's got an electronic device will be able to read your book when it's published on Kindle. Where do I even start? Well, basically you start with research. Do your research, find out what books are selling well, plan your books, what chapters you'll have, and again you can look at best-selling books in your category that you propose to publish. See what chapter headings they've got and see what contents are in those chapters. You can on most books in the Kindle store, you can certainly look at the table of contents and you can see what's in those tables. So once you've got a list of table of contents, decompose each chapter, decide what exactly it's going to contain, start writing with chapter 1 and continue, and then top and tail the book, put an introduction at the start, and list of resources in the back, and then that's it, really. That's the process. It's quite straightforward. What else we got? How long does it take to write a book? Well, that depends on the length of the book, really. If you've got a typical 50,000 word book, and let's say you typed at 20 words per minute. Now, some of you will be a little bit faster than that, some will be slower. That is about 42 hours just typing. So if you were doing 2 hours a day, that's 21 days just typing. So that's not planning the book out. That's knowing exactly every word to type and just typing it. Now, you can double that if you're a slow typist, 42 days. Plus, you need to allow time for planning, I would say 2 to 3 days, plus formatting, 2 to 3 days, plus editing 4 or 5 days. So you're probably looking at a month and a half. You're probably looking at about 2 months, 2 to 3 months if you're doing it conventionally. Now, obviously with Kindle, it doesn't need to be that laborious. It doesn't need to take that long. And in fact, I'll show people this weekend how to create a book in a weekend. And I won't only show you, I'll guide you through the process of creating a book. So we'll do all the research. You'll create your content. You'll define what it is. You'll create it. We'll get it transcribed. We will upload it. We'll get a cover done for you. And you'll have your book all available at the end of the weekend on Kindle. So thank you very much for your questions, and I do hope you can make my Kindle course if you go to alinloves.it/Kindle Weekend. That's alinloves.it/Kindle Weekend. Hope to see you there.